Welcome to Dental Wife Life. Whether you're married to a dental student or a dentist, navigating the unique challenges of a dental family can feel lonely. You're not alone, and this podcast is a space created just for you. Here we share real stories, honest conversations, and practical tools to help you navigate everything from dental school stress to practice ownership, family transitions, and finding your own identity along the way. We are here to validate your sacrifices, challenge outdated roles, strengthen marriages and practices, and build a community of women who support each other. We'll get out of survival mode and learn to thrive together.
Welcome to episode 2. We'll jump right in. Okay, perfect. Today, there's a couple things that Brittany and I wanted to talk about as we were discussing our experience with buying a dental practice and getting thrown into the management position. There were 4 numbers that we found that were crucial, and neither of us really had a strong understanding of it, and it ended up hurting the practice eventually. Those numbers caught up to us. I'm going to share about my transition. That's where we ended. So we worked as an associate. We're going to buy the dental practice. Our goal was to buy a dental, like our long-term goal was to buy a dental practice when our youngest went to kindergarten. And instead, we bought a dental practice before our oldest even went to kindergarten.
Before you were even done having babies.
Before we were even done having babies. So we bought the dental practice and we had 3 kids. And 2 weeks later, after we bought the dental practice, we found out we were pregnant with twins. And it was like such like a whirlwind, like stressful situation. My background being in hygiene, we bought the dental practice and I hit the hygiene department hard. That's where my confidence was. Those are the numbers that I knew and understood. And so I really focused on reappointment rates and just hygiene production and just streamlining everything in hygiene, creating our hygiene protocol, which this we can save for another episode because I love that stuff. But I found that I focused on it because it's what I knew and what I was comfortable with.
That makes sense.
And then also it's like when you buy a house and it's so exciting to decorate it. And then you're like, oh wait, there's like maintenance, like there's like actual stuff that has to go on here.
Oh shoot,
like
the actual logistics.
Yeah, it's not like just about like painting and throwing furniture in. You're like, oh, like we need a new roof and this appliance is broken. And there's like the day-to-day functions that you can't ignore. And I think Braden and I just had so much fun being like business owners. And now we got to make the decisions. And there were like so many things we wanted to change. We like painted the office, redecorated, and just really focused on more of these like kind of fun things and really neglected these numbers.
Which is so funny because I wanted to be like that so bad. And Andre did support me like getting a new rug and new furniture for our lobby and stuff. But anything else I would suggest, his number one thing when we bought the office was we have to think about the ROI on that. Like everything. And I was like, stop talking about the ROI and let me make this place beautiful. And he was like, absolutely not. So he was not into it at all. He was like, if I'm not getting on a return on it, I'm not doing it. So
my sister's husband is the exact same way. She told me that it wasn't until she did like finally paint, which they've owned the dental office for a while now. And she painted, and she said that he was with like a friend and he showed a picture to his friend, was like, oh yeah, Aubrey's painting right now. And he was like, oh, now it doesn't look so dated or so.
Oh, look at that. So there really was probably an ROI on this. Should we have done that earlier?
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious.
He's like, yeah. So then he like told Aubrey, he was like, thanks for painting. Like,
I get it now, wife.
Yeah. But so like for this episode, I really wanted to focus on those numbers that I had ignored and learned the hard way. So going back to my transition, when we knew we wanted to buy the practice, I was working as a personal assistant and I had worked out a plan with the owner's wife who was working as like the office manager, and that I was going to quit my job so that she would have 6 months to train me. So I quit and started training in January. We were supposed to buy in June. And the first meeting went great. She taught me like some payroll stuff. The second meeting I went in and she was ticked off about something. And I like walked in in an ambush. Like I had no clue what was going on. And apparently, so we're in a small town. There's one other dental office and they had a rival with this doctor.
Okay.
And we didn't really understand the rival, but we respected it. We honestly had never even spoke to the dentist before buying the practice or anything. But apparently there was a rumor going around town that we were buying his dental practice. He was also retiring.
Buying the rival's dental practice? Okay.
Yes. And
So you did make her mad without knowing you made her mad.
yeah, like she was mad.
The rumors made her mad.
Yeah, she had heard a rumor that we were buying a dental practice. And I don't know if they felt like we were going to not buy their dental practice and kind of screw them over and just buy this rivals, or if they just honestly didn't like that we were buying the rivals as well. Again, not true. 0% true. Never spoken to the man. But so because of that, I was like, no, like this is not true, but she wouldn't believe me. So I was not allowed to step foot in the office.
Oh boy.
Rest of the time, which up until that point, I was working I was on payroll. I was working as a hygienist when they needed subs and stuff. Yeah, she was like, nope, I'm not doing any training. She's like, which, I mean, if the rumor had been true, I understand to an extent that
she didn't want to give you all that information and
for me to go then apply it to a different dental office and screw them over. Give me confidence that I need to run a dental practice and then we just leave them hanging.
So did their perspective switch towards your husband too throughout all of this?
Yes. And then they did end up moving up the date, which was just better for everybody because I honestly think they were worried we were going to back out of it.
Yeah.
Which never crossed our minds.
You guys moved your whole family to Kansas.
Yeah. And we were stoked and we loved it here. But that's the hard thing about rumors and it's just, it can be hard to know who to believe. And especially if you have all your eggs in one basket. So I definitely have some sympathy for them there. That would be stressful that they're like, this is our retirement plan. And it's a small town. It was really hard to find an associate. Like I think before they hired us, they had been looking for 5 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I'm sure the panic of being like, we're never going to be able to retire. We're never going to find somebody. But because of that, just the transition was really poor. And we had a clean cut, like they didn't stay on or anything. Like one day they were the owners, the next day we were, and they were out of the office and just trying to honestly getting thrown into it. Luckily she had shown me payroll so I could go in and pay.
You could at least pay your employees.
Like that next Monday or something. I think we bought the practice on Friday and I processed payroll on Monday. So at least I could do that. And then, it was just like jumping in with things that we thought were exciting and fun. And I went into preterm labor with the twins when I was 31 weeks pregnant. And I was far enough along and dilated enough that they kept me in the hospital. And so I was just on bed rest in the hospital for 3 weeks. And I found myself
very convenient.
So convenient. But I found myself with just like a ton of time that I started looking into some more like business management things. And I think I listened to a ton of podcasts, but I'm sure I found one similar to what we're doing today of 3 reports that you should pull daily.
Right.
And so then I listened and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I should pull this report. And so I like remote in and I start pulling reports and I'm like, what?
I have had that exact moment. I'm like, oh boy, these numbers are not what they say they should be.
Which I did have some red flags because while we were still able to pay ourselves from what we were producing as an office to what was left over in our bank account at the end of the month, I was like, the math just ain't mathing.
Yes, totally. And if it's not mathing, something is wrong. And I think that's one thing for me is I'm like, this just isn't making sense. And my husband just kept saying, we just got to wait it out. Like usually it takes a while to start making money, things like that. And I'm like, no, but like you're producing, the office is producing, we're collecting. Where is this money? And so, you got to dig into this stuff because the money is somewhere. So you have to find out how to get it in your pocket.
Yes, exactly. So the first number that I looked at was production, adjusted production and collections, comparing those three numbers. So I had known the report to pull, and I had known those figures as a hygienist. I kept track of my production, but I really didn't know like what percentages and what was important. And I am in no way like trying to tell people how to manage their business and stuff, but this is just what I have found. But for production and adjusted production, obviously those are, your production is what you generate, the procedures that you do, and the fees attached to those procedures. So that's going to be like your gross or net. Gross.
It's gross. Yeah,
Okay.
you were right. I had to think about it.
Hey.
Pregnant brain. I was like, it's gross
production. And then you have your adjustments and your write-offs. So adjustments are going to be those insurance adjustments, and then any kind of like discounts and things like that, things that you're writing off. And then you end up with your adjusted production. And from what I have found, I haven't found like a standard number that your adjustments should be in, because it really depends on if you're in network with insurances, out of network, that kind of stuff. If you have in-office plans and like in-office insurance plan type things. And so there's going to be a lot of factors. But one thing I did find is if you track your adjustments, they are like from month to month going to be fairly consistent.
Yeah.
And ours, we're in network with a couple of insurances, and then we also do medical billing. And so then that will also cause your adjustments to be higher. So we're around like between 10 and 13%. And so I track that. And if I see a deviance from that, either like high or low, I'm like, oh, so if it's too low, like our like account, like patient refunds and different things, like, are we up to date with that? If it's high, then I'm like, okay, what are we writing off?
So what's happening here?
Are we having denials and stuff? So I'm going to start looking at those. Rather, I don't know how to.
It's too popular. Your phone just keeps going.
It's fine. I don't know how to mute it without muting you.
You could do that. It's fine. Just mute me and your notifications. I'll just wave if I need to say something.
Yeah, exactly. So then adjustments. Yeah. So then if it's really high, you're looking into it, what's going on here. And then collections, that's the big one, right? And collections from your adjusted production, you want to be collecting. And this, you're going to see different like standard industry numbers that I see between 92 to 98. Of course, like who's not striving for 98% collections, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the number I go off of. I want 98% collections. And when I was pulling these reports, my adjustments were crazy. And then over a 6-month period, our collections ranged anywhere from 88%. I actually pulled the numbers last night for funsies, went back and looked.
That makes me want to. I'm like, I should have remoted it or checked when I was at work today.
I was like, it was like PTSD. I was like, I remember pulling these reports and just that dread that it feels.
Oh yeah.
What? Yeah. So on average, I think our lowest was like 70% collections. Like literally.
Yeah, I feel like we got into the 70s at one point too. Yeah. And I was just like,
that's just like,
what is happening?
Sitting on the table. And basically there's different things that can cause that. But without getting into the nitty gritty of our situation, if you don't have good follow-up procedures in place, like who's in charge of following up with claims?
Yes.
And what does that process look like? Who's responsible for it? And how does it happen? How frequent does it happen? How is this reported? How is it recorded in your system? How often are reports being pulled? You know, this whole revenue cycle management, what does that look like for your team? And then for us specifically, when we had people in place that were in charge of these things, but they all reported to the office manager. And those reportings, like as soon as she left, those were no longer in place. And so these are being reported and tracked, and people are still doing their job, but it's not being reported and tracked. And so you're not going to catch.
There's no real follow-up.
Exactly. There's no real accountability, and insurance is terrible. So it's one of those things that you're like, you can get swamped with, and it could be like, I'm going to get caught up next week. I'm going to get caught up next week. And pretty soon.
Totally. Like, you've just fallen so far behind.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so
another big one for us personally was our front office team was fluctuating a lot during the transition. And so we would just have like one girl be like, yeah, I sent out statements this month. And that was just the end of it.
Yeah.
And then we're finding that these numbers are just adding up so drastically because sure, the statements are going out, but are the patients actually paying? More times than not, they weren't. And no one was following up on it. So insurance, patient balances, anything like that, it's if you're not following up on it, it's not going to get paid.
And consistency is key.
Absolutely.
There would be claims that were really old, and we'd look into them and there was no claim on file. So they just never got the claim. And I'm like, that is like such a resend the claim.
And then you like worry about insurance, like, because you only have a certain amount of time. So then it's like a whole nother level of panic.
Yes.
But we also would have patients that were like, I haven't got a statement from you guys in 6 or 7 months. Why are you calling to collect now? And it's because we were learning how to be business owners.
Yes.
So, sorry.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So that's so true. That's like the worst when you're like, hi, 6 months later, you owe us.
You need to pay for your cleaning, your insurance today.
You still owe the new last appointment.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
The consistency is huge. And you just don't know to look for it without these reports.
So definitely pulling the production reports. And how often? I do look at them daily, mostly just because I also, and that same report, I'm looking at what's scheduled. So I'm looking to make sure that we're scheduled to hit our goal for the month and stuff. So it's just nice that it's all in one report. I'm not necessarily, collections is going to go up and down. So I'm not like, we have to be at 98% every single day.
At all times.
Yeah. Because we get like Blue Cross on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something. So those days it's going to jump up by Monday.
Right.
Low. So it's not something that I track, but we do my financial specialist, she does report back to me on a weekly basis at what our collections is at. And we just make sure by the end of the month that it's in that 92 to 98%. And then the other thing was accounts receivable, or like your aging of your accounts receivable. So that's basically the money that's just sitting on the table, money that's going back to that collections, that adjusted production, but you haven't collected it yet. Where is that money at? Is it money that you're waiting for insurance to pay? Is it money that patients owe you? And really, that should be, when you pull that report, it should look like an ice cream cone. There's not specific parameters because it really depends on what your office collects. So there will be some like consultants and stuff that might give you like a percentage. Like your 90 days should be less than 5% of your like monthly collections or whatever. So you can go off of numbers like that. But really, if you look at the ice cream cone, your 0 to 30 days is going to be your biggest bucket because a lot of insurances haven't even processed those claims. So you're going to have thousands and thousands of dollars in that bucket. Your like 30 to 60 and 60 to 90, like it's going to get narrower and narrower. And then really, ideally, you shouldn't have those accounts receivable over 90 days.
Because whether it's insurance or patients,
Yeah.
you're not going to get paid if you've made it out of that realm. Likely.
Yeah. The chances of getting paid once it's out of 90 days it's much harder. And it's not impossible because you can hit it, you can get it. Don't just write off those accounts. If you pull and your over 90 days is crazy, don't give up. You can definitely fight it.
Absolutely.
And really try to collect, but it's definitely going to be like a focus. I feel like once you can get to the ice cream cone, then it's just like a daily maintenance type thing. But if you have some cleanup, then
it's a big chore.
Yes.
We definitely hit that with ours. We did not know like AR report. We were not checking that at all. And it did not even cross our mind. And we really did. We listened to a lot of podcasts. We talked to a lot of people. You guys were such a mentor for us. There was just, there was so much information coming in that you can't just nail it all right off the bat.
It's so true.
But this one, we had an appointment, I remember, with our accountant. I don't remember if it was like our mid-year or end of year or whatever. And she was like, your guys' AR, it's pretty bad. So we're like, what do you mean? We're like pulling up the reports, and we were not an ice cream cone at the time. There was no funnel happening. It was the wrong way.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's like big gets skinny. It's like an hourglass.
Yes. Yeah. And it was very big at the bottom. And so if we would have just written all that off, we would have been in a lot of trouble because we were still like very much paying our associate, and we were paying our team and our supplies and everything. So not only did we need that money to keep the business successful, but we obviously wanted to make a little bit of money off of what we were doing too. And so we did have some difficult calls. We had a lot of insurance catch up. We had a lot of patient calls during that window of time that were not the most pleasant in that experience. but you can't just give up on it. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Don't just write it off and assume you can't get it.
Yes.
And you really will get to a point where you catch up and you've got the right systems in place to keep up with it. It's not going to be a forever problem.
Definitely. We could do like a whole series of episodes. We could do like an 8-part series on accounts receivable and just cycle and stuff. And so we'll have to do that. But
yeah, absolutely.
The biggest thing, like if you're listening to this and you're like, what does ours look like? Pull it. If it looks like an ice cream cone, you're doing good.
Keep it up.
Keep it up. If it looks like an hourglass with a really heavy bottom,
it's okay to panic a little bit, but then just get to work.
Time to really hit that hard, which kind of brings us to this next one, which this is one with accounts receivable that I did not learn about until a couple years into ownership, honestly. And that's specifically like the outstanding insurance claims, because one big thing, of course, a patient, I don't want to send them a bill that's 2 years old, right? Like that you're like, hey, you owe this from 2 years. But you technically could send a patient a bill that's 2 years old. Insurance, you cannot.
They have a deadline.
And I've heard that some are like as short as 90 days. I have not seen that. I haven't personally seen anything less than a year, but I've heard that there are insurance carriers out there that does 90 days or 6 months.
I was going to say, I feel like I can't think of them specifically, but I think I recall a time or two where it was 180 days, but typically it's a year.
Yes.
I feel like.
So that's good news for if you're finding that over 90-day bucket is really big. As long as there's the claims that are over a year, those are gone. Those are, give up on those. There's nobody that's going to accept it over a year. But if it's under a year, it's definitely worth trying to follow up on.
Yeah.
And then really, if you like that, any claims over 45 days, you should have very minimal of those. That's a really healthy AR, which full transparency, that's what I'm working towards, but we are not there yet. But
I want to run our reports. Our insurance girl is so awesome right now, but I'm like, I wonder exactly where we're at.
You should.
I should.
I'm curious. And me and like our insurance girl, she's so fantastic. And we've been hitting this hard, doing a lot of account cleanup from this whole fiasco in like 2021. And then we outsourced it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then she took it on, but she wanted to bring it back in-house, which I wanted to, but I just didn't have anybody besides me who knew how to do it. And I told her, I was like in a time of my life where I was like, I can give you very basic training, but I can't be here every day. I can't, like, a lot of it's going to be like you just figuring it out. And so she did really awesome, like figuring it out her first year. Now she like knows what she's doing and we have systems put in place. And so,
and it's such a critical piece to the collections.
Yes.
So you have to have someone that is like, can be really committed to it. I'm in the same boat. I've gone through phases with the office, but I'm like, right now, I can't give that much to such a critical piece of it.
Yes.
But we did almost the exact same thing. We cleaned up the mess for the first year. We went into the mess and then cleaned up the mess for the first year. And then we outsourced as well for, I don't remember exactly how long, probably a year and a half. And then our front office girl, she came to us and she's like, you know what? My heart is in like insurance. I love doing the insurance side of this.
Nice.
Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome.
It's like, I love you.
Yes.
But with us outsourcing, I just feel like I don't really have a place in that. And we were like, wait, hold on. What if we choose you instead of the outsource situation? Like, would you stay and be our insurance coordinator essentially? And she was like, oh, I would love that so much. And so that has just completely become her position, which was new to our office entirely. There was, when the other owner was there, and then when we got there was never like a specific insurance coordinator. And so that is new for us, but it has been wonderful to do it right in the office. But at the time during the transition, we couldn't have put her over there because she was too valuable at the front desk. Like we needed that consistency.
Yes.
But once we outsourced for a while, then she was able to really step into that role. So it's been amazing to have it in-house.
Yes. The nice thing about it, so if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a mess, and you're stressed about like how many claims you have over 90 days, over 100 days, over 200 days, claims that are getting close to that 365 days, I would, if you don't have a specific person that's going to be dedicated to it, but also keeping claims like up to date, but then also like digging yourself out of a hole is almost impossible, depending on how big your office is.
Yeah.
We see 600 patients a month, which 90% of those are going to be insurance patients. And so there's a lot of claims that are going out. I think outsourcing that is like it's so amazing that there are companies out there. There's so many different companies that you can use. And so that's definitely, there's some hope there. Outsource it, have some cleanup. If you can hit it really hard, like just like you've mentioned that it took you a year, it took us a year. This isn't something that you're going to just clean up in 3 weeks and it's going to be perfect. Like it's definitely going to take some time, but you definitely don't want the problem just to keep getting worse and worse. So you got to put in the policies, like how often do we follow up with claims? How often are these reports being pulled? Who's pulling this report?
So it's not just piling up and getting bigger.
So you want to manage your current ones while digging into your old ones and trying to get there.
And there is a time and a season for sure. Like outsourcing when we did, it saved us. It was incredible. Like it was the best decision at that time.
Yeah.
But then once we were able to get caught up and get the systems in place, get the team in place, then now we can handle it in our office. So don't feel like you can't do that or that's not an option or like it's a lifetime commitment. Just because you outsource for a little bit doesn't mean that's what your office does now forevermore, because you can transition whenever you feel ready to.
Definitely. And then the last one, I feel like you have a really good story with this. So do you want to talk about like the overhead?
The last report you're saying?
Yeah. The overhead percentage, like supplies and whatnot.
Yes. So our biggest one is it's very easy to see your like payroll, things like that, what you're paying your employees and the percentages there. Yeah. And so when we talked about overhead, we felt like we were doing fine for the most part because we were staying in the realm of what we wanted to for payroll.
Yeah.
But what we didn't think about was the supplies. So we bought our office in August, and the next May we went to a course. And when we went to this course, we were learning so much stuff. It was great. It was me and my husband. They did office managers courses as well as for the dentist. And so it was really great. We definitely learned a lot. But there was one specific moment where the guy was talking about, he said, I bet 90% of you will run your numbers right now to see how much you're spending on supplies. And I bet that you're spending 5-10 times more than what you should be spending. And we were like, oh yeah, we actually have no idea, because when we bought the office, the lead assistant is in charge of all ordering. And so it was the last thing we were concerned about. Hallelujah, we've got this girl that will just do all the ordering. We never have to worry about if we have enough supplies, anything like that. And we had not ran the numbers of what she was doing. All of what she was ordering was on like auto pay, already set up credit cards. And so we just never even thought about that.
Right. As long as supplies are here.
Yes, exactly. Then we're fine. Everyone's fine.
Yeah.
So we actually ran the numbers right there. We like pulled up our credit card statements. We pulled up like our supplier statements, everything. And we ran the numbers right there. And sure enough, every dollar that we thought we would be profiting when we ran a rough estimate of purchasing this office, it was all going to supplies. So for example, if you're producing $120,000 a month in your office, if you're spending 4% on supplies, you're spending roughly $4,800 a month. But our office was spending roughly 20%. So in this example, that means she was spending about $24,000 a month on supplies.
That's crazy.
So when we ran that, that's almost $20,000 a month.
Right.
That was just disappearing.
Yes.
We had no idea. And we were like, is there like embezzlement happening? We'd been warned a ton about embezzlement and just different things like that. And we can never find the red flag. And then when he said that, we were like, oh boy, this is our red flag. This is what needs to change.
This is where the money's going.
Yeah. So my husband spent, honestly, like a couple months after that making a formulary, which the course suggested to us. Instead of just ordering right from one supplier, we made a formulary of where to get front office supplies or bathroom supplies versus dental supplies and find the best cost for each of those things. And then when our assistant was ordering, she could just go right to the formulary, find the best option for that product, purchase it accordingly. And when we did this formulary, we told our dental supplier, we said, hey, we're actually going to be cutting down significantly on our ordering. we're like,
Yeah.
I will say, we're like racking up credit card points. That was like a perk of it.
Oh,
Like
so nice.
we had
So nice.
so many, because she was spending over 20 grand a month.
Yeah.
She was spending even more than that, but she was spending 20% on this. I'm like, we can't just live off credit card points forever.
Yeah.
So they don't buy the groceries as well. So anyways, we made this formulary. We gave her a budget and it cut her numbers
Not a budget.
a lot. We gave her a budget. And she's a longtime dental assistant, and she was very unhappy with us, unfortunately.
Yes.
But we immediately started turning profit after we did that.
Yes.
So it's a hard one to pull because it's not right there in whatever.
This nice, pretty report that you can pull.
Yes, exactly. You have to prove it and crunch numbers. Yep, exactly.
Okay, so what, just out of curiosity, which I know this also is different across the board, but what percentage do you guys try to keep your supplies under? Do you remember?
So our goal now is 4% after that course.
Okay. And
that's not labs.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Do you combine that with labs?
No, we do not combine it. So I feel like our overall, I want to say is between 10 and 12% on supplies. Okay. But just like supplies are 4%. And then I think we've got 6% for labs and those costs.
Which, so if you're listening to this and you're like, what are they talking about? So that's something else too, is like, you can separate those two numbers and look at your labs versus your supplies, which the biggest thing is if you use like an in-house lab, like if you have a CEREC machine and stuff and you're doing a lot of stuff in office, then that can free up you're going to need more supplies. You're going to need more CEREC crowns and things like that. So sometimes people will just lump those together and be like, I want it to be between 10 and 12% supplies, including labs, which is what we do because we do a lot of our stuff in-house. But yeah, so that's crazy. And we went to the same course. I know, because I'm the one who sent you to that course.
Exactly. Which was the game changer. Yes, so thank you.
And so
most of the smart choices I made have been because of Whitney.
And so then when we went to that course, we did the same thing. And my husband took that over. He took over ordering, and he did it for, honestly, probably 2 or 3 years because he had such a tight system. And because it's really important to make sure you're spending what you're supposed to be spending, but then also to make sure you have enough and you're not running out of stuff. And
absolutely.
So he wanted those systems in place, and he was like, I'm going to put these systems, I'm going to build this system because
I'm going to do this. And then you're going to follow this system.
Yes. And I can't implement a system that I don't know what the system is. That was like a couple months after ownership, and he put that in place. Same thing, like made this beautiful spreadsheet, and it's so much work, but it's definitely worth it. And keeping your supplies down. And I will mention, because you mentioned in your example, like $20,000 that freed up, going back to the specifics of collecting 70% versus 98%.
Right.
I crunched what those numbers were, and that was like between $35,000 to $50,000.
I was going to say easily tens of thousands.
Yes. Which would really explain why, like after like we paid everything and stuff, that I was like, why is there not so much? Like, why is there not very much left over here?
And this is why these 4 reports are so important, because this is what's going to keep your business going.
Yes.
Because you can only just hit the breaking point for so long or be losing money for so long until you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Logistically, emotionally, you're like way past it. But logistically, it's no, we can't keep doing this.
The money will disappear.
These reports make a very big difference in the success of your office.
Yes. So make sure you're pulling these consistently.
Yes, absolutely. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you for spending this time with us on Dental Wife Life. If today's episode encouraged you, challenged you, or made you feel a little less alone, share it with another dental wife who needs it. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social media so that we can keep the conversation going. You can find us on Instagram at The Dental Wife Life. Remember, your role matters, your voice matters, and you don't have to navigate this journey alone. We'll see you next time.